Good evening and welcome to Suffering in Silence with Tia May on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Luv Bay family, we're rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on this evening is what is love? And tonight we have with us our co-host Pastor May Davis of Greater Works Christian Ministries and also another dear friend, Carrie Hardy. For listeners, if you have questions or comments for our guest or co-host, you can email sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. If you have resources that you would like to share with listeners on a national or local level from your country, your community, or your local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. So, Pastor May, would you like to greet our listeners on this evening?
Good evening. It's good to be here again. I thank God for another opportunity. I'm Pastor May Davis. I'm co-pastor of Greater Works Christian Ministries in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the heart of West Philadelphia. I'm also an author. I'm also a playwright. I also have a couple of ministries. I have one for women who are in all kinds of ministries called Sisters in the Pulpit. Also, my husband and I have a marriage ministry, which is called Evenly Yoked School of Marriage Ministry, and where we coach couples also engaged couples as well as couples who have been married for months all the way to 50 years, believe it or not. We still have to coach people who have been married even longer than us that still can't get it together, So, but we're grateful to God for the opportunity to be a part of the radio broadcast Luv Bay on tonight with Tia May and Carrie.
Greater Works has a Christmas fellowship coming up, right? Are you guys doing a Christmas fellowship?
Yes, we are. December the 19th, we are having a Christmas fellowship, and with a little bit of food and a little bit of gifts for some of the children that come by. So we do it every year. Okay. Pastor and I usually dress up in those ugly Christmas sweaters with a Santa Claus hat, and we usually sit at the Christmas tree that we have. And we hand out gifts to the children, and we take pictures and, all that good stuff. Unfortunately, this year, he won't be able to be with me playing Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus, because he's in the hospital. But he's doing very, very well. God has blessed him. And he's has come through open heart surgery, and he's doing fantastic. But we do have replacement players, we have a young couple there that are the assistant to the pastors. He and his wife will take our spot this year and play Mr. and Mrs. Claus.
Okay.
We know the kids don't believe in Santa Claus, but look, it makes us feel good, okay? So we still do it.
That's after the morning service?
Yes, after the morning service.
Okay, well, I will be there.
Okay,
so I will
looking
see you on the
forward to
19th.
it.
And so
make sure you give me her age. I know her age is 7, so I'm good.
Oh, she's 8. Just had birthday.
No, okay, I missed the year.
8.
She's 8. Okay. I'll make sure she's on the list.
Okay. Well, Luv Bay, I want to introduce to you my dear friend Carrie Hardy. And before Carrie introduces herself, I have to say, Carrie is the editor of my book, Suffering in Silence. And she did such a beautiful job. The first conversation that I had with Carrie about the project, the very first thing I said to her is that I don't want my voice to be lost. I knew my work had to be edited, but I did not want, my work to go through changes that weren't me. I wanted to give Carrie a clean final draft, as clean as possible, because I didn't want her to have to do much work, but I still didn't want my voice lost in that. I talked to her. She understood what I meant. She understood what I needed. I gave her the work, and I think it maybe 3 weeks tops. She had it back to me, and Carrie listened to me. She did exactly what I needed. And when I went through it was still me. It was still my words. It was still my meaning, my thoughts, and my feelings. And I appreciate that so much. So I just had to say that. Carrie is a wonderful editor. She does not tout herself, maybe the way that I think she should, but I had to say that. I had to share that. She is awesome. And I thank you, Carrie, for what you did for me. And so now you can introduce yourself to Luv Bay.
Hi, everyone. As Tia said, my name is Carrie Hardy, and I'm so happy to be speaking with you all today. Tia is a great friend of mine. I love the work Pastor Mae Davis is doing. We just met recently, but I already love, she was a friend and confidant to Tia while she was, enduring everything. So that already is doing so much work for women, because it's a ripple effect.
Yeah. So
I really appreciate being here today, and I can't wait to get started on the topic. And Tia already said I'm a writer and I do editing, so I'm not going to be redundant.
Oh my goodness, it is much more than that. Carrie, it's much more than that. She is awesome. Carrie, how can people reach you if they want to take part in your editing services?
So my email is imagesattainable@gmail.com. So it's spelled phonetically. So images and then the word attainable, no spaces, at gmail.com. And yeah, so that's what I do. I love creative writing, which is what I do with Tia. And then the other side is more like corporate brand storytelling, marketing, stuff like that. But the two sides basically are creative narrative writing and then the other thing. So yeah, that's what I love to do. And thanks for the introduction, Tia.
You're welcome so much. And Carrie does not just edit work. She will help you put your story together. She will help you put your thoughts down on paper. She will help you get your story down. So, as I said, she wasn't going to say all of that, but I'm a walking commercial for Carrie Hardy.
Like if they don't know how to, because a lot of people have a large narrative or they have an experience they want to share, but they don't know how to, or maybe since it's traumatic or something, they feel hindered from putting it on paper.
Yeah.
So I help with that by doing interviews and outlines and stuff like that. So I really help with the initiation process of your novel and the formulation of it. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Carrie. So before we get into our topic, I do have a few resources that I want to share. And for those of you who don't know, programs offered by domestic violence agencies include the 24-hour helplines that they have. Some of them have online chat services. Domestic violence agencies provide emergency shelter, transitional housing and services, individual and group support and education. They provide legal assistance and court advocacy. They provide community-based education, training, and consultation. And also, if you call a national hotline, they will connect you with a local office and helpline in your area. So if you only have a national number, that's fine. You can still call them and they will connect you to somewhere that's close to you. So the first resource I have to share this evening is actually in Australia, the National Family Violence Counseling Service. Their website is www.1800respect.org.au. The phone number is 1-800-737-732. In the UK, the National Domestic Abuse Helpline, www.nationaldahelpline.org.uk. The phone number is 0808-2000-247, or you can reach out to Women's Aid, and their website is www.womensaid.org.uk. And then we have the Befrienders Volunteer Action to Prevent Suicide. To find a helpline by country, you can visit their website at www.befrienders.org. So we have those resources to share today, and later I will share a couple more. So on Tonight, our topic is, what is love? And I believe it's safe to say that we know what love isn't. Many of us, especially in Black communities, have been traumatized. Many of us were raised in dysfunction with fighting, screaming, the arguing, and name calling, and just the controlling and abusive behavior. So as adults, we may know and recognize that today, but now we have to either go against the normal that we now know is wrong, or we have to try to figure out and discover what love is, because even if we didn't experience dysfunction, some of us never saw love demonstrated anyway, a real, healthy, positive love. But love is recognizing what a person needs and giving to them what they need in the way that they need to receive it, and not trying to give them what you want to give them, how you want to give it. It's supposed to benefit the other person. Love is sacrifice without bringing harm to yourself. Love is sacrifice. It's compromise. It's communication. And in the book, in reference to the book 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, people receive love in different ways. And so one of them is words of affirmation. Then there's acts of service. There's receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. So again, people have to be mindful to communicate their love in a way that people need to receive it. You can't just say, I paid the mortgage this month, so I love you. You should see that, and you just need to recognize it, and that's it. It doesn't go that way. I understand that you paid the mortgage this month and you love me, but I still need to talk to you. If I had a bad day at work today, or there's something going on in the kids' lives, we need to sit down. We need to talk. We need to communicate. So because you paid the mortgage, it doesn't negate you sitting down and having a conversation with me. It doesn't negate that we still need to have companionship and friendship. We still need to have a partnership. And so as I was thinking about this topic, there was a story that I remembered. So I want to share this story. And then Pastor May and Carrie, I want to get your thoughts on what love is. So as I was thinking about the topic, I remembered, this was a long time ago. I remember being 17. I had this boyfriend who was walking me home. I don't remember where we were, what we were doing, but he was walking me home. And when we got to the corner of my block, we stood there for a bit. It was starting to get dark. And as we stood there talking, as it was getting darker, lightning started to strike. So we knew it was about to rain. And he said to me, go in the house, it's about to rain. And he wasn't mean or nasty about it. He did say it like he had a little bit of authority, but he wasn't aggressive. It was just, go ahead in the house because it's about to rain. I distinctly remember feeling he cares about me because he told me to go in the house, so I'm not out in the rain. I also remember distinctly thinking he's telling me to go in the house because it's going to rain, but I know he's not about to go in the house because of the rain. I know he's about to hook up with his friends and they're about to go wherever and do whatever. For me as a young person, I remember a void. I remember wanting to know that someone cared for me. I remember wanting to know that I was important, that I was special, that I meant something to someone. And not just in a romantic relationship, even with adult relationships in my life, I remember wanting to know that somebody cared about me, that somebody was looking out for me. So with this boyfriend, with me having that void, it made me feel like he really cared. Instead of the healthy person that, I am now, that looks back on that moment and says, if you really cared, you would have actually walked me to my door, walked me to the front door. But we split ways. I went to my house, he went to his house, or he went wherever he was going. But that emptiness within me gave his words a power that made me feel like what he said was enough in that moment to make me feel loved. And that emptiness that I had made his words more than what they really were. But as a young person, I remember that void. Just in general, I think people have an emptiness, a wanting, or maybe even it's a natural desire that we need or want to be filled with knowing that someone cares. I think that starts early in our lives. I also think that if that void or if that desire, if it's not filled lovingly or caringly by someone who actually does have our best interests at heart, or if we don't fully understand and grasp that God loves us and can fill our heart in a way that no person can, I believe that as we move through our lives, that's where we can get into destructive behavior. I think that's where we can mistake someone controlling us for love because of that need that we have. If it's not nurtured correctly, if that need is not met correctly, if we don't stop looking for in people what we can only get from God, then that's when twists and turns can come in, and we can find ourselves with a person who is controlling, who is manipulative, or who is abusive, and we're mistaking that behavior for love because we didn't receive love in its proper context early on in our lives. And part of the problem with love is not knowing and recognizing, not understanding and accepting and not receiving that God loves us as we are. So it's that a part of the problem is that, we don't get that God will fill our desire. God will fill that void and that emptiness that we have. And we have to let him do that and stop searching for it in other places. God loves us in a way that our parents and significant others and friends can't. Even if they want to, and even if they honestly try, they just can't. And they won't be able to, because God's love is perfect. It's a perfect love that covers us in all aspects of our lives. And we don't have to do anything to get it, which means we don't have to do anything to keep it. And when others fail, he's still loving us in the way that we need. God will always love us in a way that sometimes we don't even know that we need ourselves. And so, as I was thinking about this topic, I remembered that story. Pastor May, I'll ask you first. So what are your thoughts? What do you believe, and what do you see that love is?
Well, I want to first read a passage. I'm using an easy read, 1 Corinthians 13, 4, 5, and 6. And once I discovered this particular scripture, which is really a universal type definition or demonstration of what love is between people and each other. And this is how it describes it in 1 Corinthians 13. It said, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous. It does not brag, and it is not proud. Love is not rude. It is not selfish, and it cannot be made angry easily. Love does not remember wrongs done against it. Love is never happy when others do wrong, but is always happy with the truth. And number 7, also add, love never gives up on people. It never stops trusting, never loses hope, and never quits. And I really believe that when you are able to demonstrate love, whether it's your family, whether it's in relationships, whether it be friendly or a significant other or husband, because there are different types to love. There's eros love. There's the love of a friend. There's intimate love. There's different forms of love, and people don't know that. And a lot of times they don't know how to show that love. But I think this kind of really, but it really does give us a guideline of how to love each other. And having patience, definitely you need patience to love each other, okay? Because we could be crazy, a lot of times. We could go off the left field, and it takes a lot of love to love crazy, okay? Even when you may not stay together, okay, you can love folks from a distance. I got family members. I had to love them from a distance because they was crazy. Okay, so, but I had enough patience with them when I was around them to say, okay, this. I'm loving them where they are. Okay, I know about a few hours from now, They're going to go their way and I'm going to go mine, So, I try not to be rude to them. In relationships, you can't be jealous of one another, and sometimes even friends, whether they're female friends or male friends or, male or female friends together, especially around women, we get jealous of each other's friendship. You may have two friends, and you care about them both, but one of them is more jealous, because they think you're paying more attention than you should, and they're not getting attention. So love comes in various ways and is demonstrated in different ways. But what it is not rude. It does know how to apologize. Mm-hmm. It does know how to be honest and truthful with each other. It doesn't give up on people. Okay, you may not be able to get along. I ain't giving up on you. I pray for you again from a distance. Okay, because there's a lot of craziness going on there. So I can love you from a distance. Love doesn't hurt. It does not hurt each other. Even though people, as we've talked about domestic violence, people think that when they are together and they're hurting, they'll say, "Oh, that person doesn't really mean it." No, they really mean it. If they're doing it to you, they really do mean it. So, but love doesn't hurt. So, I think this is a good guideline for somebody who doesn't understand how love is supposed to look. You talked about the love language, the 5 love languages. We use that particular book when we deal with couples. And believe it or not, sometimes men don't understand that they have to affirm their wives. Their wives need to know that, okay, I look pretty. Their wives need to know that they're doing a great job. Just like men need affirmation too. Mm-hmm. Wives need to say, like, I used to laugh at my husband because in order to encourage him to wash the dishes, I used to tell him, like, to affirm. He couldn't do a lot of things in the house that I really would like for him to do. But the things that he did, I wanted to affirm him that I appreciate him. So I would tell him, I love a man that washes dishes, They would say that would get him to wash the dishes next time,
Right.
So I needed to affirm the things that he did. And even though they may not have been right, my love for him is to at least let him know I may have to go back and wash the dishes later. But, they may not be completely clean. The glasses might be spotty, But the love that I have for him is at least to let him know I appreciate you trying.
Right.
And even if after you go to bed, I come back and wash the dishes.
Right. Don't rewash the dishes in his face.
No, I can't let him sit and rewash the dishes, okay? Because that would really hurt his feelings.
Right.
Again, love doesn't hurt, okay? So you don't want to hurt him, but love is demonstrated in a lot of ways, and you talked about some of the 5 ways of love language. People don't even know that there's a love language that exists, So that was definitely a good start out to let people know that there is a love language, Mm-hmm.
So Carrie, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What is love in your thinking?
Okay. To give some context, I'm a 23-year-old, so this is where the definition, that's my age, I'm coming from. Limited experience since I'm at the beginning of my worldly life. And I want to put kind of a trigger advisory out there for mental illness and abuse. So I think it's really interesting to think about the definition of love, especially through the lens of a mental illness like PTSD. Mm-hmm. So personally, I have PTSD, and love, that's a very interesting concept because I feel like love necessitates trust almost. Mm-hmm. And when you have PTSD, you see everything through a lens of mistrust. You're fighting paranoia, pretty much everyday paranoia to yourself, everything. So you almost feel like you don't have the capacity to love or be loved, especially when you've gone through things that basically makes you feel worthless. So I would say that love is, if you're talking about so for platonic relationship with friendships, I think love is being able to see, part of love is being able to see past what others have done to you in order to embrace that person. Because I have a best friend now, and I have trauma with my sister. So I'm sitting, and my sister, see, it's crazy because my sister, my biological sister, she used to roll up her sleeves before she ate. And we were at a restaurant, and I was with my best friend, and she rolled up her sleeves before she ate, and I automatically thought of my biological sister, and I just like wanted to shut down. Like, that's PTSD. It's so weird. Like, I just wanted to shut down, and it can completely change your mood and just how you treat others. But I think when you really feel like somebody has good intentions towards you, and they've shown you examples of making you feel love. They've given you nonverbals, which means like body language of loving you and being there for you. When someone has a track record of being there for you, and they're trying to be there for you, and they want to love you, I think part of love, especially when you have mental illness, is looking past what others have done to you in order to, embrace that person. I think that's one definition of love. I think another definition of love, a caveat to that kind of, is make sure you have boundaries. Because another thing love is not is when someone violates your boundaries. Like, for example, Pastor Mae Davis was talking about how people have love languages. And I think that's a really good point, because love languages aren't universal. So maybe if your significant other, maybe one of their love languages is physical touch or affection or intimacy. And, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to cuddle right now, even though you're watching a movie. I don't want to cuddle right now, or I don't want to be intimate right now, or whatever. Person should respect that. That's your boundaries, especially if you have trauma. Like, I understand that maybe that person's trauma with rejection, and then that's a whole other thing with baggage and relationship. But I think that person should respect your boundaries. Love isn't forceful. Like, it's not gonna make you feel like real pressure to do something, or real like I'm in a corner, or I'm walking on eggshells, or if I don't do this, this will happen. Love shouldn't feel like, oh, I'm at an ultimatum here. Like, it should never feel like that. So I think those are the two things. When it comes to giving love, I think looking past what others have done to you in order to embrace that person. And then what love is not is, a big thing of what love is not is disrespecting boundaries and who you are as a person. Because someone needs to respect your personality, what you believe, what your habits are, what you like. They have to respect you as a person. The person you're with, best friend, husband, boyfriend, whoever, they shouldn't be trying to make you someone else or more like them. That's not love. Love is acceptance with boundaries.
Right. Exactly right. We welcome you again, Luv Bay, to Suffering in Silence with Tia May on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here every Friday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, rising out of the ashes together. So, ladies, I agree with everything that you've just said, and I just wanted to bring out again, Pastor May, something that you said, that there are different types of love, and we need to recognize individually what those different types of love are, because I think we trip ourselves up with that. So, there is the eros love. That's where we get, erotic from, the intimate love. And then there's agape love, the love from God, and filial love, which is, I'm from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. That's where filial comes from. That's, the love between friends. So when we're dealing with the different types of love, and then when we're dealing with the issues of trust, or when we're dealing with the issue of having a void, or being emotionally stunted or mental illness, I think that's where we have to reach into the agape love, because the agape love, the love from God, covers all. That's what I think. So, and we do see love from whatever lens that we happen to be in. So if I'm hurt, that's what I'm seeing love through, that hurt. If I'm empty, then I'm seeing that love through my emptiness. If I'm not well emotionally for whatever reason, that is, Carrie, what I'm seeing that lens of love through. But again, I think that's where we have to reach out and reach into God to cover all of those and put us on the right track and give us the right aspects. So before I ask my next question, I just want to share some practical examples of what came to me of what love is, just practically. And some of these you ladies have already said. But one, love is respect. Love is being able to speak your mind freely. Love is being able to laugh and relax. It's being able to have fun. Love is being supported and encouraged. It's helping someone to grow to their next and new level. If you are in my life, you need to be in my life to make it better. You shouldn't be pulling me backwards or pulling me down. Love is helping someone to accomplish their dreams and desires. If I tell you, I want to go back to school, I want to start a business, I want to do whatever, you don't just shoot that down. You help me make that happen. And no, you don't blindly go along with just anything. I mean, usually in a couple, one may be a dreamer, one may be more practical, but our one should be helping the other. All right. So you might not be able to go and get a $3 million property overnight, but babe, let's look at it. This is what we need to do to get the finances together so we can work towards it. You come up with a plan. You don't just shoot it down. And Carrie, as you said, love is setting healthy boundaries for yourself and others. And I really like this one. Love is equality. My voice matters just as much as my partner's. I thought about that. I could preach a sermon on that one.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. My voice matters. You should not come to a decision that concerns your partner without your partner. You can't do that. You can't come to a decision that is affecting a whole family and only one person in the family knows about it. That's not love at all. And Carrie, also, as you said, love is being able to say no. And, sometimes love is doing nothing. Sometimes it's just being able to just be free, be yourself, just be comfortable. And what I also just really absolutely love myself about love is that love is having your hurts and your pains covered and shielded and protected. Because when you are, and this is, if it's an intimate relationship, if it's a parent-child relationship, if it's a sibling relationship, if it's close friends, sometimes you know something about that person that the world does not know. And if we are that close, if you are, my confidant, I should be able to give you my hurt and pain and know that it's shielded and protected. And you're not going to put me on Facebook or Instagram. You're not going to church and testifying about me. I won't show up to work and everybody knows what's going on in my life. If you really love me, then you cover my hurt, you cover my pain, you cover my faults. And I'm not saying co-sign on foolishness, because when you love somebody, you do correct them, but you do that. You do that privately. Now, and then you do have to make the decision. There are some things that need to be out in the open. Abuse needs to be brought out in the open. That's how you deal with that. But when you deal with a person in love, you don't just throw them out there. When they give you their vulnerabilities, you don't just throw them under the bus like that. So that was just some practical examples that came to me. So Pastor May, I would ask you, can you speak to the love that individuals need to have for themselves?
Oh my gosh. You can't begin to love somebody else if you can't love yourself first.
Right.
Come on here. I love me. Okay. And you need to learn how to love you first. And, one of the things that I have found in talking to people and sitting and coaching in people, they are in a mindset that they don't deserve to love themselves. Yeah. I kind of hear that a little bit, when Carrie was describing some of the things. They are afraid to embrace themselves. But I think the first initiation of being able to reach out and love someone else is to love yourself enough. Okay, and sometimes you are vulnerable. You allow yourself to be vulnerable sometimes in loving yourself, and then open yourself up to love someone else. Mm-hmm. Okay, as you had already talked, because sometimes people take advantage of that. Yeah. But it's very important that you take care of you. People will recognize that you are not loving yourself. Yeah. By your conversations, by the way you look on the outside, even your body language. People will be able to recognize that you're not loving yourself enough to take care of you first. You can't begin to take care of anyone else if you're not taking care of yourself. Caregivers, we tell them all the time, if it's a spouse or if it's your children, whoever it is that you are caring for, and you love them enough to care for, because it's not easy to be a caretaker, but you're loving them enough to care for them. You need to be able to love yourself as well in order to care for that person that you're caring for, right. So it's important to look at yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and can say, I love you, yeah. Be able to speak to that inner person within yourself and say, God created something beautiful in me. Yes. God created, I don't look bad, and listen, if I do, okay, what I need to do to make me look good today, okay? What do I need to do to make me feel better about myself? Mm-hmm. Depression sets in, and you can, if you go to the mirror, you can see yourself depressed. And you can reverse that thing by beginning to talk to that person that's in the mirror, mm-hmm. and say, listen, we ain't going to be depressed today, okay? What can we do to reverse depression, okay? Put on a little bit of makeup, listen, I want to change my outlook today. I go get Barry or Sue or Jerry out of the closet, put on a burgundy wig, blonde wig, whatever color I got in the closet, to kind of change the way I look for the day, put on some eyelashes, it's about how I want to feel. I want to feel good mm-hmm. about myself. I don't think we need to wait for people to tell us. I think we need to experience that within ourselves firsthand. Yes. Tell yourself, I love me, okay?
And
you don't have to wait on somebody else to,
And say it with a smile.
Say it with a smile. I love me, okay? And I can I can do pretty good taking care of me, even if somebody else don't want to take care of me. I'm going to take care of me. If don't nobody else they need to take care of me, I'm going to take care of me, okay? So it's God first, me second, okay?
Right.
God is always first because he's the head of my life, mm-hmm. and he is in charge and he's in control of our lives. So once we, God first, then it takes care of me. I tell my husband, I take care of me. I'm going to take care of you, but I'm going to take care of me too.
Right. Absolutely right. So, Carrie.
So be happy about who you are.
Exactly.
The Bible tells us that we are wonderfully and marvelously made. We've been created. We're individuals, but look at what God has created in us, and it's marvelous in His sight. He didn't create junk; He created us and made something beautiful out of the imagination of God. That we are who we are, individuals, but we're all beautiful, and I wouldn't even let nobody tell me I'm ugly. What? Are you kidding me? No, baby. You better take another look.
Right.
Oh gosh. Because when I was younger, I didn't think I was pretty. So I put that out there. I didn't think I was pretty, but I had to learn. There's things I could do to help me look pretty. A little bit of lipstick, a little bit of makeup. I learned how to do that when I was real young. But sometimes we don't think we're pretty. So okay, well then get some makeup and do your thing. Kind of, spruce it up a little bit. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of makeup, a little bit of lipstick. It makes you feel good. It makes me feel good. Let me put it like that. Okay?
Well, Luv Bay, I wish you could see Pastor May and her blonde hair this evening. She looks beautiful.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Don't forget about the lipstick.
Oh,
okay?
and her lipstick.
Okay. Only thing I don't have on tonight is my false eyelashes. Okay, that's the only thing I don't have on tonight.
Carrie. All right, Carrie, I'm trying to ask you a question.
Silly sometimes, it's all good.
Oh my goodness, Pastor May is something else. Okay, Carrie, I want to ask you, because you work with young people, right? And not just the young people that you work with, but young people in general. What do you see? What are the needs for love that you see in young people?
I think it varies because I work with different types of young people. So, there's one girl I work with, and she's a refugee, and she's from Malaysia. This isn't to be like, oh my gosh, I'm this philanthropist. I just think it's interesting because a lot of times that can be very cultural. Mm-hmm. And I also work with kids who are Black and underserved, and they're young men, and they live, in really precarious situations. So I think it can depend. So it's hard to generalize and say, what do young people need? But I think one thing that I see that kind of prevails is they really just want to know someone cares.
Yeah.
Because when you realize that one person loves you, that can really change everything for you. Because when you feel like, you go two different ways. When you feel like nobody loves you, you just either go you're always searching for it, always looking for it, or you kind of go the numbness route.
Yeah. And
you kind of shut off to everyone, and no one loves me, and I don't love anyone, so good, I don't need it. So you can go like two different ways. And I think sometimes, especially with our young Black men, that's kind of when we start to see that hardness. And even with our Black women, because I was getting kind of hard. You kind of start to see that hardness, and that's not good, because humans are social creatures. They're supposed to be, they're supposed to have people they can rely on. They're supposed to be together. So that's not really good psychologically. And I think that when we look at young people, there's such a stage where they're developing and they're trying to figure out who they are. But it's really hard to figure out who you are when all you have is negativity coming at you. Because when a lot of how we form ourselves, form our identity, or how we look at ourselves is how other people are looking at us. So especially if you're poor and you're African American or whatever, and you have a lot of negative stereotypes, and you have people sneering at you, even people from your own race, it's hard because you feel like, oh, okay, is that me? And it's like you feel like no one cares, so you just want to know like someone cares. So I think that and the way that you can show that is following through on your word, because that's love, and that's showing love, especially with young people, because young people, especially the type of young people that I work with, they have had so many people say something. And I've had this is me when I was young too. They have people say something and go back on it. They have things people say things they don't mean. People say, I love you, and then touch you inappropriately, like not even 2 hours later. Mm-hmm. So I think saying I love you, but not even just saying I love you or I care about you, is following that up with actions. Young people need to see demonstrated through your walk, how you treat them, your body language for them, that you care. you really have to show I think that's what young people really need when it comes to love. And I know that sounds very vague, but yeah, just to show someone that you actually care. And you kind of talked about, and even though you were a grown woman with your own life and career, but Tia, talked about in your novel how when you were going through everything with your ex, you were like, oh my gosh, nobody cares. And you said you kind of sinked into nihilism or like pointlessness or purposelessness because it's like, oh my gosh, no one cares. And so but when you met Pastor May and she believed you, her just believing you, that kind of like, you said it was kind of pivotal for you. Like,
it was.
Just one person showing that they care can change everything.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. If it's okay, if I could add to, because young people, again, need to be able to trust, like you said, and your word, again, has to mean something. If you say something, as you said, you need to follow through on it. Kids don't trust adults as it is. They don't trust older people as it is, because they see a lot of stuff that older people do and that they know it's not right. And they will watch, what you do. And if it's the opposite of what you say you will do, it's confusing to them. So then they won't know what love is because you confuse them by saying one thing and doing something else. And being honest. Young people love honesty and they love transparency.
Yep.
They want to know that you didn't just grow up being who you are and doing everything right. They want to hear that, yes, I've made some mistakes. Yes, I may have did drugs. Yes, I may have did stuff that, like they might be doing right now. I may have did some of that too. They look at adults and they try to pretend, especially people in the church. They try to pretend like they have never done anything. They try to pretend like they did not have a before they found Jesus experience. Yeah. Okay? And young people need to know that, I had another life. I did some things wrong. And so they can relate to honesty and transparency. Yeah. And you don't make yourself so above everybody else that you never did anything. And then you come down hard on a young person because they did something wrong and you're chastising them or being judgmental. And come on, you forget you were young too. You did something maybe similar to what they have done. So I believe young people need transparency and honesty as well. Yeah.
Well, we could get away with the stuff we did. They got Facebook and Instagram telling on themselves now.
Absolutely. Okay. They tell it all.
No, we
clicking all the time.
Didn't have cell phones taking pictures. We had the landline, the phone on the wall in the kitchen, doing a 3-way calling. That's what
that went.
If you wasn't on the phone listening on the line, you didn't know what happened, and we didn't tell. But I absolutely agree. I agree with you, Carrie. I agree with everything that you said, and I just want to follow up on what you were saying, Carrie. But you were not vague at all. I believe you actually hit the point, because what you're describing now and the teenagers that you're seeing today, that's exactly what I felt and what I went through when I was a teenager. So I don't think it's a one-off thing. It's not a vague or general thing. It is something. Young people want to be loved, and they want to know that they matter. And if the wrong person, catches them and gives them, an inappropriate love that they misconstrue, then that is a pivotal point that would change their lives, for the worse. But I mean, that is something that's real. And domestic violence, for some of us, that does not start in adulthood. There is domestic violence among our teenagers. And so we have teenagers, teen boys and teen girls looking for love, and they end up with a person controlling them and manipulating them and abusing them in different kinds of ways because they're searching for love. And they have that void or that emptiness. And so I don't think there was anything vague at all about what you said. And I also believe that as adults, a lot of us as adults, we have to go back to our inner child. Some of us have to go back to that little girl and that little boy within us and start there, rebuilding the love. Starting there with rebuilding that trust, because love is trust. You can't have love without trust when you're dealing with people. And so some of us really do have to go back in our minds and our hearts to that child that was injured or hurt or left unloved, and we have to start there. I want to share a couple more resources, and then as we are coming up on an hour again, I'm going to ask for some final thoughts. The time is just going by so quickly, but I want to share the Canadian Women Foundation again. Their website is canadianwomen.org. The phone number is 1-866-293-4483. The National Teen Dating Abuse Helpline. Their website is www.loveisrespect.org. Their phone number is 1-866-331-9474. And then the National Domestic Violence Hotline in the United States. The website is www.thehotline.org. And their phone number is 1-800-799-7233. And as we are wrapping up with final thoughts, I thought of an article that I read some time ago. This was a while ago. I forget the name of the article, but basically it was to express ways that your significant other loves you. And it was just a list. And it's just one of the things that really stuck out to me. There was a woman who, she had this issue since she was a child. She always had this fear when she was eating that she would be the last one at the dinner table eating. But she couldn't make herself eat her food faster. And it was like, that was a real fear that gripped her. Or her husband, knew about this. And so what he would do is whenever they sat down to dinner, if they were at the table at home, if they went out, he will always eat his food slower to sit with her. So she wouldn't feel like she had to rush, and she wouldn't feel like, she was going to be left alone. And when I read that, it brought tears to my eyes, because I thought that is love. Like, love it's not flying somebody around the world in a jet and diamonds and furs and all that. I mean, people throw money at each other and they don't even like each other. But I mean, love, when you can take your spouses or your partners or your childs or your friends, when you can take their fear or their insecurity and you can help them with that right there, that is love. And that is what, we need to do for each other. But that was my last thought for the evening. So, Pastor May.
Well, it's the little things. It's not the real big things that you do that demonstrate love. It's just like those small examples. That the one that you just gave is a demonstration of caring so much for that other person, to be able to some way put yourself in the place of them and try to see how they feel and help them work through it by, okay, I'm not going to eat fast, I'm going to take my time, because that's something really deep inside of them. And your love for that person wants to help them get through that. Yeah. So love walks you through trauma. Love walks you through hurt. Love, especially if it's a spouse or whatever the relationship is, love cares enough to, you can't walk a mile in someone's shoes, but you can see and you may know based on conversation what that person has experienced growing up or in the past, even as an adult or as a child. And when you become a part of that person's life and you know these things, the best thing that you could do is help them through those small areas that give them victory over those hurts and those pains, and that's demonstrating love. Love, again, from 1 Corinthians, is patient. Yeah. He was patient. He demonstrated patience with his spouse by taking his time. He probably could have gobbled up that food in about 2 minutes, But the patience that you have for another person, that helps. Even with Carrie, with the young people, you take time. You're patient with those young people, and that's your demonstration of love for them, because you're taking your time. You're being patient. You're being methodical about how to deal with them. So that's your demonstration of love, and they trust you.
Yeah,
they trust you. Mm-hmm. So it's not the big things. It's sitting down, just have the conversation, talking about nothing, because they don't have nobody else to talk to. Okay, and they could be talking just as crazy junk, that you're not even interested in. But the fact that you're going to take the time and the patience to hear what they have. People just sometimes just need somebody to talk to. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you may not even understand, all that they're talking about, but it's a listening ear. People need people to listen to them.
Yeah.
Listen to them talk. Show some interest. That's love. That's demonstrating love. And you do that with your young people. I'm hearing you talk, about how some of the young people that you deal with, that's demonstrating love. So you're showing it. Mm-hmm. And that's why they respect you. They respect you because you listen to them. Okay? I can just have an image in my mind that you're sitting down and you are looking at them in their eyes. And you're sitting there listening to what they are saying to you, and you look like you're interested. You're not on your phone. You're not looking all around. You're not doing hand gestures. I can just imagine you sitting there talking to them or listening to what they're saying without interrupting them, because, come on, interrupting somebody when they're in their thought, that's not cool. Mm-hmm. Okay? And, most of the people, you didn't even let me get it out. You didn't even let me finish what I needed to say. That could be very frustrating. But I can see you taking that time and allowing them to finish their thought, allowing them to get it out, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration. But that love piece of being patient is very important. So I can see you doing that.
Carrie, you want to share some final thoughts on our topic tonight?
Well, sure. I wanted to comment a bit on self-love. Mm-hmm. Especially when you've been through a lot, I don't think that if you're dealing with self-hatred, I don't think that you're broken or you're not capable of functioning in a relationship. I think it's hard, and I think it's easier when you do love yourself. But I don't want anyone out there who's dealing with self-hatred. I've dealt with self-hatred. Like, I've been lying on my back at night, staring at the ceiling like, oh my gosh, like freaking out. But because you're just alone with yourself, and it's just like unfavorable. But I think that you could still, like, I've met some women who are really good moms and they struggle with loving themselves. So I think that it just depends on the decisions you make, and we all have inner battles. But I don't want anyone to feel like because they're not at that place of self-love that they're not capable of showing love or functioning in a relationship.
Right.
Great.
I agree. That makes sense. We're all
That's great.
We're all a work in process. All of us are on a healing journey, and I don't care how far you get, your healing never stops. You have to continue to take care of yourself. So if you are not where you need to be or want to be and loving yourself, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get there. And if you don't get there as fast as the next person, then that's okay too. You don't measure yourself by anyone else's standards. I've had those nights laying in my bed staring at the ceiling. I've had those nights, crying with, my pillow just soaking wet with tears. I've been there and done that. And there may be more nights of tears and more days of, being in doubt. But it's not over. So wherever you are, you start. Love is possible. And the first love that you start with is for yourself, and that love between you and God. Take that and you can get to anywhere you want to go, wherever you want to be, however long it takes. Joy does come in the morning, and weeping is not going to endure forever, And again, if you hear my voice, I am talking to you. The night is coming to an end. I've got through it for this very moment right here, so I can come back and tell someone else. You're going to get to your morning, and we're getting there, and we're trying to help you get there every Friday with a little bit at a time. And so, Luv Bay, we thank you so much for joining us for Suffering in Silence with Tia May on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here every Friday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're rising out of the ashes together. Thank you so much to my co-host, Pastor May Davis. Thank you again to Carrie Hardy, who, if you've guessed it, will be one of our co-hosts in the future. So we will be hearing from Carrie again. Carrie is rounding out the Suffering in Silence team. So thank you all again. Everyone have a beautiful and a good night. And if you need to start right now, then you start this evening with loving yourself. Have a good evening.